All right, Fox News titled this, "Everyone should have a problem with this." What's going on? Also, thank you very much, Argentina Sickle? I don't know how to say your name, but thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. You could also go follow over here at twitch.tv/Necosuris. That would be really cool. I also have multiple channels you can follow. There's Third Space Arcade, which will be getting episodes soon, I hope. There's also the channel you're on right now, which probably is the main channel. I don't know if K-Fox is putting this on the secondary channel. We will find out as time allows. And then there's Suris MTG, which is about Magic the Gathering. So if you would like to follow me on one of my many ADHD adventures, then please consider checking those out. Argenticle? Argenticle? But you can call me Argent. I'm going to do that.
But first, big story today. An education watchdog group is sounding the alarm on the Southern Poverty Law Center as it faces federal charges over alleged multi-million-dollar fraud schemes involving extremist groups it vowed to fight, like the KKK.
Now, do you guys remember exactly how this happened? Do you guys remember what the situation was? The Southern Poverty Law Center, because Fox News isn't going to say it, right? It's Fox News. They're not going to fucking say it. But the Southern Poverty Law Center has informants in hate groups. And those informants need to be paid money because they are literally risking their lives to give us information about those hate groups. And that information is used by the FBI. That's so agitating that the Trump administration is trying to blow the lid on a scandal when that's not what's happening. It's not, there's no actual scandal here. We knew this was a thing. We knew that this needed to happen because if you're going to have paid informants in any organization at all, you need to pay them enough so that they are fine risking their lives.
Defending Education out with a new report warning that the SPLC is still pushing its far-left agenda into classrooms all over the country. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily.
Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered, and we're totally not stealing from that one place that nobody likes. I'm kidding. You know it's Jubilee. So, defending education. Let's take a look at who these chucklefucks are real quick. So, to be fair, ex-mil spies need a job after the military. It's true. So, defending education, formerly Parents Defending Education, is a right-wing AstroTurf operation registered as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Wow, that's so cool. Fox News isn't going to say that because they would rather not actually do that. They would rather you not know about that in general. That'd be bad for their bottom line at all. Anywho, let's continue here. They're based in Virginia. They self-identify as a national grassroots organization working to reclaim our schools from education for our kids. To reclaim our school from activists promoting harmful agendas through network coalition building, investigative reporting, litigation, and engagement at local and state levels. We are fighting indoctrination in the classroom and for a restoration of a healthy, non-political education for our kids. Non-political. You guys know what the word non-political actually means? I'm just going to go and let you know right now, non-political just means you didn't say something I disagreed with, because politics is just what happens when two people think there's a way the world should work and they disagree. That's politics. That's all it is. If you don't want to talk about the fact that America did slavery, and you don't want to talk about that history, then yeah, you wouldn't be doing politics at that point, but you can't do that without talking politics. There's not a thing you can do at all. We have to protect the children from learning. Yep, they identify as a grassroots effort, their connection to the Koch network. Oh, the Koch brothers? The one where one of them is finally resting in piss? Wow. To the Koch network, KOCH. And they also have conservative dark money affiliates. And they've been labeled as an AstroTurf campaign. Activism, and AstroTurf is activism manufactured by interests to look like grassroots organizing. They support curricula that includes rigorous instruction in history, civics, literature, math, and sciences, and the idea and values that enrich our country. They aim to discontinue the inclusion of curricula with emphasis on students' group identities, race, ethnicity, wow, religion, and sexual orientation and gender. Ah, yes. We don't want you learning that gay people exist because we can't guarantee that you'll grow up into a bigot if we don't do that. By the way, we've done studies that show that if people who are young are exposed to gay and trans people early in life, they become more accepting of them as time goes on. Weird that there's an organization that is actively trying to make it so that you don't have access to that. Strange. Said one of the Koch brothers died? Yep. To talk non-politics, you must first talk politics? Yep. Of course Sonic's political. He's an eco-terrorist. Anyway.
Campagno here with my co-host, Kaylee McEnany. And
wow, they all look like Fox News co-hosts. Every single one of them. They all have Fox News face.
Also joining us today, Molly Line, Fox News correspondent, Rosanna Scotto, Fox 5 New York anchor, and
why do they all look the same?
Host of the Underground Economy on Fox Nation, and Todd Pyro, Fox and Friends first co-host.
You know, at least he looks different. At least he looks a little different. Come on.
Now, the report alleges that the Southern Poverty Law Center's program called Learning for Justice, formerly known as Teaching Tolerance, is integrating SPLC's radical agenda into K-12 schools to kids as young as kindergartners.
Right. Do you want to define what that agenda is? Because the word radical means nothing without a descriptor.
According to the report, the fall 2018 issue of Teaching Tolerance featured an article titled, "What is White Privilege Really?" The program's social justice standards includes a set of learning outcomes for students called Anchor Standards and Domains that are...
So let's look at what's going on here. Students will develop positive social identities based on their membership in multiple groups in society. They'll develop language and historical cultural language that affirm and accurately describe their membership in multiple identity groups. Students will recognize that people's multiple identities interact and create unique and complex individuals. Students will express pride, confidence, and healthy self-esteem without denying the value and dignity of other people. Students will recognize traits of the dominant culture, their home culture, and other cultures, and understand how they negotiate their own identity in multiple spaces. What the fuck is the problem with that? What? Huh? That doesn't make any sense. So Jesus, a few weeks ago, The Onion mentioned a Mar-a-Lago face super spreader event. They're turning the kids twins or something. I don't know. Students will express comfort with people who are both similar and different from them. Okay. They'll develop language and knowledge to accurately and respectfully describe how people, including themselves, are similar to and different from each other. Yeah, I'm a white guy, so my experience growing up was that of a white guy, where I didn't have to worry too much about whether or not I wouldn't have enfranchised power, actually working against me. But if I were a white girl, there's enfranchised power that would be working against me way more. And if I were a black woman, then there'd be even more enfranchised power working against me. And if I were a black trans woman, I'd be dead, because there'd be a lot more shit working against me, especially in modern day. And learning that that is the case would probably be a good thing. And here, they thought you were a pink slime girl. I know, right? Students will respectfully express curiosity about the history and lived experiences of others and will exchange ideas and beliefs in an open-minded way. Students will respond to diversity by building empathy, respect, and understand. I don't see a problem with any of this. What? Students will recognize stereotypes and relate to people as individuals rather than representations of their groups. Right, so you end up thinking of the Chinese girl in your class more as a girl who is Chinese and less of a Chinese girl. You think of the kid in your class who is black less as a black kid and more as a kid who happens to be black. I don't see the problem with that. What's the issue there? It's like when you find a fucking chaser and they try to go like, well, what's the problem with liking trans girls? And you're like, there's no problem with it, but you're liking them because they're trans instead of because they are people. And that's kind of a problem. Like, you don't see how that boils somebody down to some essential trait. It's like dating somebody because they're black instead of because they're who they are. It's a very, very superficial thing to do, and it leads to you dating not a person, but an idea of an individual, and then trying to operate after that point, which doesn't fucking work very well. I don't know, teaching children that maybe boiling people down to those essential traits is a bad idea is good, actually. Wow.
are divided into 4 groups: identity, diversity, justice, and action. Now, the group calls on educators to teach students to recognize biased speech and calls on kids to plan and carry out collective action against bias and injustice.
Right, so biased speech. So, what is biased speech? Well, let me give you an example of biased speech. I'm not cis, I'm normal. When you start talking about trans people and you say, well, us normal people don't live through that, that's biased speech. It turns out that both trans people and cis people are normal. It just so happens that there's one of us that has bigger representation in the populace. That doesn't make it normal. It's as normal to be trans as it is to be cis. It is just more rare. But when you say, oh no, I'm not cis, I'm normal, you're immediately putting a juxtaposition between you and another person. Because they're not going to see it as, oh, well, you're just part of the majority group. They see it as, oh, I'm part of the out group. And that doesn't help anybody. As for students will plan and carry out collective action against bias and injustice in the world, a cartoon could explain it to you in a way that made you realize it's not something to villainize. But no. Fox News, they got your back. They got your back. They got all the bias in the world for you. All you could want, and even some you didn't.
And school districts across America were quick to implement those materials. The website for the Association of Alaska School Boards links to that document we just showed you. And on the other side of the country, in Rhode Island, one equity group wrote an audit that pushes for SPLC material to be included in the curriculum of one school district in the state, with a suggestion to start that in kindergarten.
You know, it's so weird. The right wing petitions to have PragerU taught in Florida schools. And that's considered normal. That's considered good. But when an anti-hate organization wants to tell kids to, you know, be part of politics when they get older, and maybe don't hate people because of the color of their skin, and maybe be part of society as a whole, that's bad. It's really bad, actually. That's super bad. For some reason. I don't fucking get it, you guys. I don't get it.
A popular program called Second Step that is used in many school districts in America said that it curated materials from Learning for Justice. And according to the report, at least one across 150 school districts in more than 42 states, including our nation's capital, are using or have used the SPLC-aligned materials.
So, again, what part of anything that was written out in any of those material did you have problem with? And can you articulate it in a way that doesn't make you sound like a goddamn Nazi? Can you do that? Stop says, ha ha ha, just found out drag queens threw a fake MAGA rally show to raise funds for the ACLU, and all the drag was jokes about right-wingers. That's great.
Now, we've reached out to the Association of Alaska School Boards and Second Step. We have not yet heard back. Todd, what struck me about reading this was not only the breadth of infiltration, but the depth of infiltration of these materials curated for every age group. And
it's a school system document. It's supposed to do that. That's what it's built to do. That's why they were written. I'm sorry, but maybe Dot was wrong. Maybe something about women and opinions. I don't know. I don't want to do a misogynist arc right now.
Really, the indoctrination, this is not just lightly tapping on the kids' minds. This is a full-force playbook for, frankly, communism.
And so...
What? No. There's no way you went there. There's no way. Actually, diversity, equity, inclusion, bad because communism. What the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about? Where did it say communism? Where? Also, twice in that statement, that had to have been rehearsed and generated by a goddamn AI. Because twice in that statement, she did the it's not X, it's Y shit. And I can't hear that multiple times back to back without immediately thinking that some chat GPT motherfucker wrote this. It's like peeking in bumper stickers, stapling communism to another thing to make it evil. Yeah, I guess. You're peeking. Look, no, I'm not. I peaked in high school. Now I'm just a VTuber.
Is it any wonder that we are seeing things that 10 years ago we would have thought not possible? A Mamdani becoming the mayor of New York City.
Why is that not possible? Is it because he's Muslim? Is it because he's Muslim? Please say it's because he's Muslim. Please say that you never left 9/11. Please say you never left that world. I'm just curious. 10 years ago, we would have never thought it was possible. Okay, but you haven't explained why it's bad. Or are we just supposed to immediately hear Mamdani and think turbans and jihad?
Democrat socialists like that. Men in women's sports to the level that we've seen. And Guys, do you recognize what he's doing? Do you recognize what he's doing? Calls Mamdani a democratic socialist, says it's bad. Okay, cool. I can accept that that's a thing that he thinks. Fair, fine, whatever. He didn't explain why that's bad. He just expects that people on Fox News are going to immediately assume socialism bad and agree with them. Did you check the second thing he did there, though? Here, let's rewind the tape, because I think it's important. Socialists like that. Men in women's sports to the level that we've seen.
Did you guys catch it? Not the transphobia. That's expected. No. The phrase, to the level that we've seen. Do you guys know what that means? The level could have been 0 and the statement would still be valid. It's a nothing statement. It is a statement meant so that you can insert exactly what the level we have seen is and exactly how bad that is. But it tells you nothing about the actual level. It doesn't tell you anything about how the fact that there were only like 3 fucking trans kids in all of goddamn Oklahoma that were trying to do sports, and they were legislating against that. 3 kids? No. It's this stupid fucking pundit politician wishy-washy goddamn language. And nobody catches it when they use it. And it bothers the shit out of me. Everybody hears that and they just nod their head and go, yep, the Jewish space lasers meant the adrenochrome was going to build the tunnels under the Washington, D.C. monument into New York so the Jews and the Israelis could actually suck the blood of kids. That they can insert whatever the fuck they want into that. There's no substance there. Please keep an ear out for when people say, to the amount we've seen, many, some. There are times when it's valid to use those. There are. But oftentimes people will use those in order to take a non-issue and artificially inflate it into an issue.
And the big picture, Americans hating America. This all comes back to their ability to really, to your point, Emily, get granular, get in the minds at an early age and allow this to fester. So instead of these schools...
So do you want to explain what hating America looks like? Because I'm just curious. If I hate America as it is right now and I want it to improve and get better, I don't want to destroy it. I just want an America that does more for its citizens. Does that mean I truly hate America, or am I actually the kind of patriot that people ought to be? Because hating America as a statement also means nothing if you're not willing to contextualize what hating America looks like. If you can't give us that, if you can't explain what that is, then the words mean fuck all.
Teaching the basics, math and English, and raising test scores. These tests...
We should be teaching the basics. We already do that. And you know, the states that don't want the SPLC shit in them are probably the states that are already ranking lowest in education anyway. But on a change in America, we don't get a cell phone. We don't get cell phone towers.
Scores are plummeting. Instead of teaching the next generation of leaders, what are we teaching, Emily? What are we seeing? The next generation of these people that we cover, the protesters who are anti-ICE, who are going after our brave men and women in uniform, who are...
Based. Wow. Being anti-ICE? Yeah, I'm not really big on the Gestapo. I'm good against that. Being anti-men in uniform? No, they're not usually anti-men in uniform. So, here's the thing. I am anti-United States imperialism. I am anti-destroying the cultures of other countries. I am anti-unnecessary fucking invasion. But I'm not anti-military, because I recognize that in a world with other people in it that do not always have your best interests at heart, you have to have a standing military just in case. And oftentimes you can do things like using soft power so that you can help a country get better and then get favors from the country instead of forcing it to do shit under military rule. There are ways to utilize a military that are completely ethical. I'm not anti-military. Not just because I have military people in my family, though that is one of the areas where my bias is. I am anti how the United States utilizes its military. For instance, I would not be anti-Israel having its own military if that military was used exclusively to defend Israel from people actually trying to attack it. But right now they're using their military to kill people in Gaza and genocide them. So I'm sorry, but we can introduce a little bit of nuance in here. More nuance than a guy who looks like he's 20 years older than me, but has the mind of somebody 20 years younger than me seems to want to bring into the conversation.
We're doing things to subvert America. If I am a parent, and I'm going to go do this immediately after the show, that's not a joke, I look to see if my school district is teaching this. And if they are, I start a movement and say, this can't happen. I want my kids learning.
Hold on a minute. Let me get this straight. A few seconds ago, you said that you were angry about this stuff because it creates kids that turn into protesters. So what are you going to do to argue against this? What are you going to do to stop it? You're going to do a protest. You're going to do a protest. Really, that's what you're going to do. Protests are really bad. Don't do protests. Don't have kids that grow up to be protesters. I'm going to protest this shit. I'm going to make a movement of protesters to protest this shit. I don't know what the inside of my ass looks like, but I sure do love when I fucking eat it.
Traditional values the way every American generation has up till this point.
There's another one. Did you catch it? Did you catch it? Let's try it again. Listen for slippery language.
I want my kids learning traditional values the way every American generation has up till this point.
So, two things happen in that statement. One, traditional values. What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? Yes, it's a fallacy or tradition. Yes, that's a thing. But there's no definition there. You've not inserted into the statement what the word traditional value even means. You have not populated it with any information. But you've said the words. You've said the words. Also, the statement up to this point. It is a statement that can be said at every stage of your life till the day you die and afterwards. And it will always have the exact same amount of value. Because all it says is, I don't like the things that happened yesterday. That's all it is. I don't like the thing that happened yesterday because it made the world not look like it did a day before yesterday. That's all it says. Now, what you populate what happened that caused that in with, what you populate traditional values in as, what you insert into any of that, it doesn't matter. It can be whatever the fuck you want. Anything at all.
This cannot happen. Otherwise, we lose our country.
I also note, Kaylee, that this dovetails in with the conversations we had when the fraud allegations first came to light about the SPLC, namely that, for example, the group that I cited here, they were labeled as an extremist group by the Southern Poverty Law Center before. That meaning all of these districts and states have just relied blindly on anything the SPLC puts out or says without any research, any double checking, any of their own thought analysis.
Anybody catch that one? Anybody catch the loaded part of that statement? So, what does your own research look like? Because anti-vaxxers have leaned on this exact phrase for years. Do your own research. Do your own research. Now, she doesn't check at all if anybody's actually done their own research in any way, shape, or form before letting the SPLC stuff in. And she's ignoring the fact that the SPLC is wanting to implement those standards because the SPLC did the research to determine that those standards were necessary. By definition, the research has been done, but she kicks the can. And this is the exact same language every anti-vaxxer has ever used ever. You need to do your own research. You need to form your own opinion. That's so cool. But if I'm forming an opinion with no actual foundation, no actual basis, and there's actually an expert out there that knows how to do that, there is nothing wrong with taking the opinion of that expert and going, well, I'm going to rely on that expert there. It's no different than having a fucking plumber in your house. You can be the idiot that is constantly telling the plumber every single thing that they need to be doing for their job, or you can accept the fact that you hired a plumber because you couldn't fucking do it.
My source, Fox News, is I made it the fuck up.
I made it the fuck up, Jack. Jesus Christ. Is that her face matches the emotion? Okay. Continue. Ma'am, who I am increasingly, I'm doing everything in my power to not do a misogyny to. I am trying so hard.
They've been fed this.
You're right, and it's time for some scrutiny, some much-needed scrutiny. Look, kids should absolutely learn about injustice, slavery, racism, but they shouldn't learn about it via a curriculum from a group, the SPLC, that was sending money to these various extremist groups.
So, there's no slippery language here. There's just a nothing statement and a lot of misdirection. So, what's the nothing statement? I think that people should learn about racism. I just think they shouldn't learn about it from the SPLC. Okay, you haven't populated the why, because the why that you did supply is a lie. The why she supplied that actually is a lie is the fact that that why ignores the fact that the money was being sent to hate organizations to gather information for the FBI. The why of this lie ends in the FBI. And somehow, some way, she's completely ignored that. Remember, we don't want you to learn about racism from the group that has spent their hard-earned dollars to learn about how racist groups are operating from the inside. No, we want you to learn about racism, not from them, but from Fox News, probably.
I think there's a problem with that. I think everyone should have a problem with that. When I look at some of the concepts being taught, anti-racism, Black Lives Matters, gender ideology, queer theory, white privilege, white supremacy, whiteness, and transgenderism, I immediately wonder, what if this was in the kindergarten curriculum? Because some of this was in kindergarten classrooms.
Right. So why is it bad for people in kindergarten to learn that trans people exist? So the age that most people find out that they are trans, most people, not all, but most people, is before the age of 6. Like, most of them start having an inkling about this around the same time that they're exploring what it means to even have a gender identity in the first place. Because, for instance, back when I was 6 years old, I developed my first crush. I then found out that one of my best friends later had the exact same first crush, despite the fact that we didn't meet each other until, like, several years after the fact, but apparently we did. It was really weird. But I developed that crush. You know how you can develop a crush at the ripe old age of 6 years old? Because your brain has already kind of developed a gender identity and a sexual identity to at least some degree. A very, very minor one. You're obviously not feeling the puberty feelings at that point. Duh. But your brain's at least put a couple of things together by that point. So what's wrong with learning that the gender's a thing at that point? What's the actual issue there? Like, if we have data and studies that show that it doesn't kill kids, or it doesn't hurt them, then why would we care? Also, learning about BLM, oh no, it's learning about white supremacy, oh no. Guys, I think it'd be fun to play with Hot Wheels with them. They're cool. So, when I was a kid, despite growing up in a black neighborhood, and maybe because I grew up in a very, very predominantly black neighborhood, maybe this is the exact reason why this happened, I don't know. But I did begin as a racist kid. I remember during a movie day at school, a very, very young point of school, I forget what we were watching, but during a movie day at Pensacola Christian Academy, for some reason, one of the kids in class wanted to offer me a handshake. I've told this story on stream before, so this shouldn't be news to some of you. But I, at the ripe old age of fucking 6 years old, said the words, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't touch black people." I still to this day couldn't tell you why I said it, but I know that that's something that my brain said to say at that point in time. And I got really, really badly reprimanded by the teacher. And it took me until another couple years later to realize why that was bad, because it turns out there's no real difference between a black kid and a white kid. But I was a dumb white kid. Is that internalized racism? I'd have to go ask my 6-year-old self. So why would it be bad for a kid, when I know that I developed racism around that age, why would it be bad for a kid to learn that it's bad around that time? Why would that make any sense? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. At all. We'll listen to one more bit of Harpy speech before we end this one, but let's take a listen.
My daughter's learned about MLK Jr., what a hero he was, and she should learn about that. But these kind of concepts...
MLK Jr. doesn't make any sense unless you know what white supremacy is. MLK Jr. doesn't make any sense unless you know what a protest is. Unless you know why people protest. Boy, howdy, isn't it so weird that BLM would teach you exactly that? It's just a modern-day example of it. Why would that be bad? You idiot.
You say this to a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, gender theory, getting into the sexual domain. Are they being taught this in kindergarten? Not only that, there are two...
What's wrong with saying boys exist and girls exist? There, I just did a gender theory right in front of all of you. How scandalous.
School districts that I was reading, according to this whistleblower report in Cambridge and in Yonkers, that were teaching pre-kindergarten SPLC curriculums. Now you're getting into like 4-year-old territory where many of them don't even know how to write their name yet. So,
okay, and? So what you're telling me is they're at such a young age where they might not even internalize the information. So it's even less of an issue, actually. Cool. Why do I care?
I would love to know what of this is in the young kids' curriculum. And I wish people did.
So you'd like to know? So you're having a very strong opinion, but you don't know? Guys, ignore the fact that it's a blonde woman on Fox News. Please ignore that fact in the comment section. I am begging each and every one of you. That is a dark path to walk down. I promise you, that is a dark path to walk down. But I'm real close to walking it.
Research, did journalism, the New York Times. I went on the New York Times, I typed in SPLC. I didn't see anything about this. What I did see was...
You mean another news organization decided that this was a non-issue and so they didn't report on it, but you guys really wanted to report on it because you like racism? Weird.
SPLC headline, how the Southern Poverty Law Center drew the ire of conservatives. Get with it, New York Times. Do some digging, do some journalism, like we are endeavoring to...
Maybe they did the digging and realized there's not actually a story there. Like... I'm only talking about it because you guys won't shut up about it. You guys don't understand that you need to have money that goes to informants so that informants feel like risking their lives is worth it. And you need to teach kids earlier than you think that people around them are in fact people and not NPCs in a different reality. Every single one of these people are either nightmarishly, morbidly idiotic, or alternatively, and probably more likely, they know exactly that they're spouting lies and nonsense and bullshit and words that don't actually have a whole lot of meaning, but they have an agenda to push, so it really, really helps them to pretend that they don't have an agenda to push and that everybody else does, but not them. You think Fox has informants in the DSA? Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. It didn't occur to me until right now, but I also wouldn't be surprised about that. Everybody's got spies everywhere. I've got a fucking story that I've been going down where one of the characters has a lot more knowledge than she should and just goes, yeah, by the way, I have spies. It's just like, there's your blanket explanation. I'm just going to assume that shit. Russia's got spies here. They got paid people here. We've got spies elsewhere. We know the SPLC pays spies in hate organizations. Why would Fox News not do the same thing? It just makes sense. Anyways, I can't handle any more of any of that. This is all silly and stupid and dumb. Every single one of these people, an absolute goddamn joke. Either they're actually stupid, like I mentioned, or they are deliberately making sure that the information that they're giving you is curated to misinform. Anyway, making fun of Fox News makes me... I don't know if I'd use the word happy, but I'm certainly getting close. There. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.